Mr. and Mrs. Williams were the epitome of success, a power couple whose names commanded both admiration and fear in Banana Island, Lagos's most elite neighborhood. Their towering mansion, adorned with marble pillars and shimmering chandeliers, stood as a testament to their immense fortune, while their influence stretched far beyond the gated walls of their estate. Mr. Williams, a towering figure with a sharp gaze that could silence a room, was a formidable businessman who built his empire through sheer ruthlessness and strategic brilliance. His presence alone was enough to make competitors tremble, and his wealth ensured that his word was law. Dressed in finely tailored suits, and with a gold wristwatch that gleamed under the sun, he was the embodiment of power and control. He had climbed the ranks of the business world with an iron fist, ensuring that those who opposed him were swiftly dealt with. His wife, a striking and elegant woman, was the embodiment of luxury, gracing high-profile social events draped in the finest designer ensembles. Together they were untouchable. Their wealth shielded them from criticism. Their power silenced opposition, and their presence demanded reverence. The Williams' influence extended beyond their luxurious home. Business moguls sought Mr. Williams' favor, politicians courted his support, and socialites envied Mrs. Williams' opulent lifestyle. But beneath the surface of their perfect world lay a family bound not by discipline or values, but by unchecked privilege and entitlement, a foundation that, unknown to them, was destined to crumble. Their children, James and Titi, lacked nothing. Expensive toys, designer clothes, lavish vacations, whatever they desired, they received without question. But with such privilege came an unfortunate consequence. They had no sense of right and wrong, no respect for elders, and no kindness toward their peers. They were infamous in the neighborhood, bullies who terrorized their schoolmates and treated their teachers with contempt. Yet no one dared to discipline them for fear of their powerful parents. Their arrogance grew unchecked, and their selfishness knew no bounds. Then, one fateful day, disaster struck. Mr. Williams invested all his money in a business deal that turned out to be a scam. Everything he had worked for vanished overnight. His once thriving businesses collapsed, and debts came crashing down on him. Desperate to maintain their lavish lifestyle, they borrowed money, took loans, and held on to their luxurious home as long as they could. But the bills piled up, and their creditors came knocking. Eventually, they had no choice but to sell their grand mansion to repay their debts, and were forced to move into a tiny single-room apartment in a poor neighborhood. The family, once feared for its power, became the subject of pity and ridicule. Life, once filled with opulence, became a daily struggle. Titi and James, who had never known hardship, resented their new reality. With no money to feed their expensive habits, they turned to dark paths. James fell in with the wrong crowd. He joined a gang that thrived on stealing and committing crimes to make ends meet. Titi, seeking to regain her luxurious lifestyle, became involved in prostitution. They spiraled deeper into ruin, becoming a danger not only to themselves, but also to their parents. Mrs. Williams, unable to bear the humiliation and guilt of failing as a mother, fell into depression. The burden of their downfall was too heavy for her to carry, and finally she left her home to an unknown destination, leaving her kids with just Mr. Williams. One evening, the police raided a crime scene where James and his gang were robbing a store. He was caught, beaten, and thrown into prison. Titi, on the other hand, found herself pregnant with no idea who the father was. Mr. Williams returned home one day to find Titi unconscious on the floor, an empty bottle of pills beside her. She had tried to take her own life, unable to bear the shame of her situation. Mr. Williams, now truly alone, was left to pick up the shattered pieces of what once was a grand life. Determined to see his son, he visited James in prison. Perhaps, he thought, he could offer him some words of comfort. As he sat across from him, James requested a private moment with his father. Mr. Williams leaned in to listen, only for his son to lunge at him, sinking his teeth deep into his father's ear. A scream echoed through the prison halls as James bit off a piece of his father's flesh. Through gritted teeth, James spat the bloody chunk to the ground and glared at his father with hatred. "This is for you and Mom," he snarled. "You failed us. You never taught us right from wrong. You never disciplined us. Now look at what we've become." Mr. Williams clutched his bleeding ear, his body trembling with pain, not just physical, but emotional as well. His son's rage was justified. The weight of his mistakes bore down on him like an unbearable curse. His riches had once shielded them from consequences, but now, with everything lost, the true cost of his negligence stood before him. A son rotting in prison, a daughter ruined with no news of his wife. Regret was all he had left, but it was far too late. As Mr. Williams walked out of the prison, he realized that he had failed not only as a father but as a man. His children had been abandoned to a cruel fate, and he had been the architect of their destruction. The once wealthy businessman now found himself wandering the streets, aimless and broken, a shadow of his former self, and so the legacy of the Williams family faded into oblivion, a cautionary tale of the perils of neglect. The moral of this story is that providing children with material wealth without instilling discipline, values, and a sense of responsibility can lead to disastrous consequences. Mr. and Mrs. Williams's failure to properly guide their children resulted in their downfall also. Money can provide comfort and opportunities, but without wisdom and proper management, it can be fleeting. The Williams family's unchecked spending and poor financial decisions led to their tragic collapse. Every decision we make, especially in parenting and financial management, has lasting consequences. Mr. Williams's neglect, James's criminal choices, and Mrs. Williams's inability to cope all led to irreversible tragedies. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more captivating stories that mix culture, mystery, and life lessons.